Yo, what is up, Crockxen clan members, Elysian League fans, and others who have stumbled upon this video? I'm SoresanCrockxen, joined today by Joey,
your power ranking expert.
The power ranking expert. You need to watch his power ranking videos on his channel, which I will link down below. We're going to be doing the previews for week 5 today, Joey. Are you looking forward to this?
Oh, yeah. Got a little bit of shake up here and there. Interested to see how week 5 goes.
I know, right? So, the first order of business, we are starting off with the Rainbow Rocket Conference. We have Matrix versus Alfonso. Joey, why don't you start us off here?
All right, so the thing that Matrix has going for him is he's got about, I would say, 4 or 5 really solid Pokemon he can pretty much bring every week. For some reason, he doesn't know how to use Tyranitar, but Excadrill, Azumarill, Shaman, and Mega Latios, along with Rotom Heat, are really solid. And looking at Alfonso's team, I don't really see anything that deals with Rotom Heat. He doesn't have Mold Breaker. That's not a good sign on his part. There's one answer to Volt Switch, but it doesn't, which in Garchomp, but it doesn't appreciate a Will-O-Wisp. And then if Mega Houndoom doesn't Mega Evolve, then it can potentially switch in, but that's very limited. From Alfonso's end, I like the fact that he picked up Pheromosa, although I hope he doesn't use it as a late game sweeper. But looking at
Matrix, Tapu Lele.
Yes, but looking at Matrix's team, the one thing that could stop a Pheromosa sweep is potentially Azumarill, but that's kind of set up fodder for Xurkitree. So
wait, can Xurkitree take an Aqua Jet at +6?
At +6, no. But if Azumarill's coming in to stop the Pheromosa sweep, it's not getting up to +6.
I mean, it could be 50-50 at that point. Does he go for Belly Drum, and then Alfonso kills it with a Poison Jab, or does he just straight up Aqua Jet?
Yeah, I think if I had to give a guess, I would say it's leaning in Matrix's favor. But another thing is, if Alfonso brings War Turtle, defensive War Turtle could probably wall a bunch of Matrix's team, because I've used War Turtle before, and I know it can take a massive amount of hits. I just don't know what it could exactly do back to something like Azumarill. But Shaman would be a special attacker. I don't see War Turtle doing good against his special attackers, but as a physical attacker, that thing could tank pretty much anything that Matrix tries to throw at him.
So we're thinking like a wall for Excadrill and Tyranitar, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think Scald, Haze, Toxic, Rapid Spin could be really solid against him as far as any of the physical attackers, because none of them want to get burned. If Azumarill belly drums, as soon as you Haze, then that belly drum goes away. So that's really solid right there, and that's a complete answer to what Azumarill has. But if I have to take a guess, I'm going with Matrix with a 3-0.
I also do want to point out that he does have access to Lucario, which does have priority fighting type moves. So that means that even if Excadrill's in the sand already, priority Mach Puncher or Vacuum Wave, Excadrill's gone.
I don't believe Lucario gets Mach Punch. I think he gets Bullet Punch and Vacuum Wave.
Okay, well then Vacuum Wave. Which, I mean, Vacuum Wave is still a good move regardless. So if he goes more special.
Yeah, no. Yeah, if he definitely go... I'm not saying Alfonso doesn't have a good shot here. I think the matchup is slightly in Matrix's favor.
Oh, no.
I think the way Alfonso has been playing, it's like a lack of recognition early on what his win con is and what he needs to use to break through his team and set up for that win con. I think he's been lacking that the past few weeks.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's still not bad. I don't think he's a bad player. It's just that I feel like I wouldn't say lack of knowledge of what his team can do is the problem. I think it's specific mons in his team that he just does not know how to use. For example, with the Tapu Lele, which is why I brought that up when we talked about Pheromosa. He said multiple times that he doesn't know how to use Tapu Lele. And Tapu Lele, while it's not a one-trick pony, most of the time you can use it as a one-trick pony. Psychic Spam from a Tapu Lele is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. Psychic terrain boosted, choice specs, choice craft, either one, you're still going to be hitting relatively hard. And not too many Pokemon out there can switch into a Tapu Lele and be totally fine. And if your opponent has a Dark type, it becomes a mind game. You have Moonblast as another option, so they can't truly just risk it in and be like, oh, here you go, Dark type, Moonblast, and you're dead. There's very few Pokemon that can handle Tapu Lele. Alolan Muk, Joey should know about this, is probably known as the best Tapu Lele counter. But that's only one Alolan Muk, which means there's only one thing that truly checks it or counters it. So it's just psychic spam.
The thing with Alfonso, I don't think he doesn't know how to use it. I just don't think he knows when to use his Pokemon. Because the last game, Xurkitree should have been the thing that cleans up at the end, and Tapu Lele should have been breaking down so many walls. Lucario was breaking down walls, Garchomp was breaking down walls, but then he brought in Xurkitree to break down more walls when it should have been the thing that cleans up, and Tapu Lele was not the thing to clean up at the end, and I think he misplayed through that. I think also if Matrix can figure out how to use Tyranitar a little bit better, or if he can bluff like a Tyranitar with like a Moldbreaker Excadrill, I think this really goes in Matrix's favor.
Alright, so what are we thinking? You said 3-0, right?
Yeah, I'm going with a 3-0 for Matrix.
I feel you. I think that's a good viable strategy there. Next.
All right, who do we got?
Kraft versus Yodeler. So
who's Yodeler taking on?
Kraft.
Oh, Yodeler versus Kraft. See, this is the one that I can't figure out. Now, I don't know. I know Kraft has been busy for a while, but Kraft just finds ways to really he's really weird with it. If he goes up against an average opponent, he way overthinks his team prep, and then he completely botches it in the game. If he goes up against someone who's doing really well, which Yodeler is doing, then Kraft comes up with some insane team prep. I know he lost to Zen, but from what he said before is that his Gastrodon had I believe it's the Rindo Berry that reduces grass type moves by.
And he had Miracote.
Yeah, and he had Miracote on there, and had he clicked it, I think he wins that game. And that's just insane. He was sticky hold to hold onto the Rindo Berry so that he could save it at the end. So I think Kraft could definitely pull out something here. But that being said, I think the way Yodeler has been using this team is really good. I would say he's struggling to use things like Greninja. He's struggling a little bit to use things like Darmanitan, Linoon, but the way he's using Tornadus, the way he's using Latios, Mega Steelix, Slowking, Florges, Amoonguss. I haven't seen him use Vikavolt yet, but the way he's using those is just he's definitely, if it wasn't for the fact that Saigai had that huge result, he would definitely be the top player this season. So
I mean, not only that, but he also got a little bit lucky against Cupchew. Although Cupchew hasn't been playing the best, that was a free setup. Halucha should have won that game. That's all.
I definitely talk about that. I think there is some problems with what Yodeler has been getting a little lucky with certain things. But I have mentioned that before, but just the way he's been able to play a lot of stuff, he gets lucky in those one turns, this turn's going to decide the game, and he gets lucky on that. But everything else before that turn and everything else after that turn has been really solid from him.
Oh, yeah. I also want to say he was debating whether he wants to switch Zmons. He didn't do it. I don't have records of him asking for it, so I don't have it for this week. But he is planning on switching Tornadus from a Zmon to, I think he said Latios.
I would keep it at Tornadus.
I like Tornadus T.
Just because that flying spam is so good in Draft League, and then Hurricane has that chance to miss, but if you have a supersonic Sky Strike coming from that, that's almost a guaranteed knockout on something.
Now, I do want to bring the elephant in the room here. One of the reasons why I hate doing predictions or previews for Kraft is the fact that he drafted Ditto. I hate him for it.
Yeah.
Because Ditto becomes you're basically prepping for two teams at that point.
The thing, I think this is going to be a 1-0 in Yodler's favor, just because I think Kraft is not going to be. And I only do this because I know Kraft is really busy with school. So if Kraft does show up, I don't think he's going to put quite the prep in. And I think Yodler's going to be able to come through with like one misplay from Kraft and take advantage of it. But I mean, like Kraft used Kraft. He's actually been misplaying with Ditto. I know he switched into a mega like a Latios that when he played Matrix and let it get Pursuit trapped. And I know he won, but Matrix seriously misplayed there. So
he also had let it get burned once. Like it was a physical attacker, then he let it get burned, and then it was basically rendered useless after that.
Mm-hmm. I think Kraft can do stuff. I know he like the Z Scolipede is a real. I like that as a Zmon, but I'm not entirely sold on Kraft bringing his A game this time around, and that's why I give Yodler a 1-0.
Okay, I'm gonna give Yodler the 2-0 this time. He's been playing really solidly. Like, you know, he does, like I did say, he does have those strikes of luck that he's been getting. I think he stole Jax's luck from last season. You know, I might be wrong, but I feel like he stole Jax's luck from last season. So but he's been playing relatively well. I feel like he's been doing a lot of stuff to kind of get his game in gear. But I'm trying to think here. Because Mega Lopunny doesn't have he doesn't have too many answers for Mega Lopunny.
Well, Slowking, defensive Slowking can actually do pretty well against Mega Lopunny.
Doesn't it get Thunder Punch?
I don't know if it gets Thunder Punch or not, but like if it's Thunder Punch, then Mega Steelix is like pretty solid answer. If he has Thunder Punch, then defensive Amoonguss is a pretty solid answer. So like. It just depends on the Mega Lopunny set. Like Yodler can bring stuff that can stop it. It's just what's his actual answer to it? Is he gonna check it or is he gonna counter it? So
I mean,
all right, let's move on.
It's gonna be a good match either way.
Yeah. All right, next one.
Next one we have speaking of Cupchew versus Zen.
Ooh. See, now the thing with this is Zen has just been playing so solid these past couple weeks. I love
the way he's been playing his Magearna. Like, straight up.
Magearna's been awesome. You know what I've really loved, though, is how he's been able to use Zebstrika. Like, of all things, a tier 6 Zebstrika has been putting in a ton of work for him as well.
He's been using Meowstic Male to a ridiculous extent, too. Like, I was in shock of... I mean... His team is solid on paper, but
the one thing I will say though this week that definitely does not help Zen is Cubchoo has Tapu Fini, so those yawn shenanigans that he pulls to get free switches is not going to work out so well this time around.
I mean, but what does Tapu Fini have against Roselia? You tell me right now.
I mean, he's been able to free up a lot of switches just because he's yawn stuff and he's yawn the things that his opponent does not want to go to sleep. Yeah. So he's been using that to get free switches. So if there's something in and it's perhaps something he needs to get some chip damage on, he'll switch into whatever that thing counters and then get some damage off as it switches back in and just kind of switch around with it. But he's been using... I haven't even seen him use Mega Charizard X yet, which is insane. I've seen a few instances of it.
The thing that's been basically winning his games.
Oh yeah, I mean, when you think about, are you going to bring a physical wall to stop his Z, Landorus T, and Mega Charizard X, or are you going to bring the special walls to try and stop Magearna? And that's the problem you're dealt with here. But
Also, Joey, I wanted to ask you because you mentioned Tapu Fini to stop.
Hold on. Can get Magearna chip. Eliminate Landorus T, then a proper play with Hawlucha will probably win him this one.
But he's done it twice where he's failed to set up this Hawlucha.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like Mega Venusaur can somewhat wall Magearna, which is nice. He doesn't really have a great answer to Lando T, but if he can get rid of Lando T and weaken Magearna to a certain extent, he could probably do something with Hawlucha. Although T-Wave from Meowstic is always an issue.
Oh yeah, but I mean,
I want to see him bring sub citrus berry halucha one of these weeks.
so I mean, you mentioned the Tapu Fini thing, and to stop the yawn shenanigans, but Kamala has a decently high attack stat, and it has access to Woodhammer, so that could be
right. I mean, Kamala does do that, but the thing is Tapu Fini just switches in and switches out, and then there's a lot of stuff that that Cubchoo can go with, but I think Zen takes this one 2-0.
I can see that.
Yeah, I'm going with Zen 2-0.
Although, okay, this might be me just being crazy or not, but like, what if he sets up a Salamence? What does Zen have for a well-placed Salamence?
He's got Lando T. He's got Silvally can be a little bulky, and Meowstic Male with Prankster, along with Choice Scarf Zebstrika HP Ice.
All right, okay. You know what? If Zen brings a Choice Scarf Zebstrika, we're gonna have to have a talk.
You never know.
Yeah.
There is a Shell Smash Omastar on Cubchoo's team that he almost brings every week. So
then he doesn't. And if you are under Misty Terrain, you don't get paralyzed by the Prankster T-Wave. All right, next up we have Zach versus Sabacarp. Now, I want to go first for this one. I just want to say Sabacarp is the most tragic player in this conference in my eyes. I feel like her team, while it doesn't look the greatest, I feel like if it's played properly, it could do a lot of work. Like I thought her battle against Zen was hers. I thought she could do it. It's just one of those things where I feel she's too new to competitive to really know how her team functions, which is why Zen was able to take that so convincingly last.
Yeah, I think the way Sabacarp is playing, especially with how Zach has played the last 2 weeks, Sabacarp plays way too safe, and Zach is going to take full advantage of that from week 1. And so I think Zach is just going to take full advantage. Like last week against Nick, he started just playing really ballsy all out from the start. The way he just stayed in with Celesteela and took out the Zygarde 50%, like, who does that, especially after getting knocked down? So I just don't know how Sabacarp's going to get around that. I think Sabacarp needs to play like really risky as well.
Another thing is like, all right, so my biggest issue right now with Sabacarp is like her moves recently. I don't know if it's just if she actually has somebody helping her team build, if she's doing it by herself. But like she just has these weird moves on her Pokemon. Like, I don't know. First of all, I don't even know why she had counter on Slowbro last week. But then she used it on a special attacker like Magearna, and not only that, but she goes for Sucker Punch on her Mega Marwa on like the wrong Mons. So like when she fought against Alfonso, I think is the one that has Cfagrigus, she went for Sucker Punch. You know, it's a Ghost type Dark. It's super effective against Ghost. But like if you've been in competitive scene and stuff like that, if you know at least a little bit about how Cfagrigus works, you know this Mon is a defensive wall. So the first thing he's going to do is try to hinder your physical attack. So, there's Will-O-Wisp. And then last week, she went for Sucker Punch on Meowstic Mayo, who is, a Pokemon that sets up screens and then causes status and does all this stuff with his Sprankler shenanigans. So I feel like she's just... The moves she has, on top of the moves she's trying to use, I feel like she's doing it at the wrong times.
With Sabacarp, I feel like it's... she's like where Chu was last year, but the problem is like Ju had a team that could work with her skill set. I think Sabacarp right now has a Trick Room team, and that requires like an insane knowledge of Draft League overall, and I think she's relatively new to this, which isn't a bad thing, but it's just I want her to either start learning to predict and just make insane predictions, because I would be really like I would like it more if she was just making some insane predictions. Like if she's in with Slowbro against I don't know, Terrakion or something like that, where a Psychic would really hit, but she's predicting like a Crocodile switching and goes for Scald. That's what I would want. And if Zach ends up switching into something that resists Scald, I don't care. I want her to be making insane predictions, because everything I see is like setting up Trick Room and like making the very obvious plays, going for whatever's super effective. I think that's been hindering her because I think, especially against Zen just like completely predicted all the way through and got her on the 6-0. So
Yeah.
I think there's a lot that needs to be done there. And I think she just needs to be making just like more predictions because that'll help her understand how competitive works.
Which is why I recommended her last week when I did the previews that maybe you should, like, I don't know how often you and Cupchu like hang out. I'm assuming like every other day or every day because, you and Cupchu are like, a thing. So I'm assuming you all friends hang out together. I want you to start like doing test battles with him, or maybe you could pull off somebody else. Like, hey, can I practice with you? That's what Yoler does with me. Yoler messages me, hey, Soresan, can you help me test this real quick? I want to see if this works, and then I help him out. Try to find a way to practice because I feel like you're not. It's not that you're not putting the time. I just feel like you're not practicing enough to be able to learn how competitive works in certain aspects. So find yourself a buddy,
all right,
practice, and then go from there. So we got Ultra Recon Squad. We have Nick versus Jay.
Okay, so
another Trick Room team.
So with Jay, I think he's starting to learn to use what the team he was given. Obviously, it's not his team he drafted. I think last week he had only 2 minor mistakes.
Yeah,
looking at
that fantastically for being a new team that he didn't pick.
Yeah, I think he has to go out and find some form of hazards because I don't think Lycanroc Day gets Stealth Rocks, and outside of that, I don't really see anything else that sets up hazards on his team.
Oh no, Lycanroc does get Stealth Rocks. It's actually the only thing that made it useful when Sun and Moon came out.
All right, so that's the only thing that sets up hazards, and that's a huge problem for him, especially since he's got 3 Volt Switch Mons and 2 U-Turn Mons. So hazards plus that would do a lot more for him. I think Nick's got a much better overall team. I just think Nick has been playing really, really off with his teams. I think there's one play that just catches Nick, he gets predicted and
he falls apart.
It just goes straight to his head.
Okay.
It goes straight to his head, and then he ends up playing poorly for the rest of the time. Last week against Zach, he lost his Zygarde 50%, and he was down, and instead of playing aggressive to catch up, he starts playing safer and safer. He's playing safer and safer as more things are just dropping in front of him, and he's not taking out enough. And then, playing really safe with Necrozma at the end, which allowed Gyarados to get to +2 and just take it out.
Which is another thing. I one of the things that has been kind of bothering me with Nick specifically is that I look at his team, and just like with Cybercard, this is a Trick Room team. I don't know if you see it, but that's the way I see it. This is a Trick Room team. You have Mega Camera, Sizzle, Emboar, Necrozma, Zygarde.
But what does he have to set up Trick Room outside of Necrozma?
Aromatisse.
Okay. Yeah, I don't necessarily see it as a Trick Room team. I see it as a bulky offense team. But it's just he's not
in there. That's literally a Trick Room on.
I mean, when he brings it, it could be semi-room to an extent, but from what I see from Nick, he's got to make plays. As a bulky offensive team, he has to make some plays, and he plays it way too safe. And his team is not made to be played safe.
Yeah, that's
Zygarde 50% is an awesome Pokemon. Necrozma in Draft League is an awesome Pokemon. You've got Scizor with Banded U-Turn or Bullet Punch. Alamomola and Tangrowth should be switching into almost every attack and then switching out. Emboar, yeah, Scarf Emboar is just breaks through teams, and he's not using it to his full potential, and I think that's really holding him back.
This week, I don't know. I think this is if Jay was comfortable the first week, I think this is gonna be his chance to like take it back. Plus, Nick has been in a slump. He hasn't won a single match yet.
Matchup wise, like Nick shouldn't have too much trouble just using Tangrowth and Elamamola to switch into pretty much everything. I think combining that with Donphan, he should be able to wall almost all of Jay's team. I just don't know if he's gonna like make the wrong predictions every 5th or 10th move and then just end up losing stuff.
I mean, Gengar does do a lot of work against the 3 mons you just said. Besides,
I don't know how much it's gonna do against Alamamola. You also have to remember he's got like a ton of switch-ins through it. That Gengar can also be set up for
Zygarde.
You know, he can only run one hidden power, so Zygarde 50% and Scizor can really take advantage of that, as well as Emboar. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff. But for me, I kind of want to give it, like, based off of team matchup, I want to give it to Nick, but based off of the players, I kind of want to give it to Jay. So I'm at this impasse.
I mean, for me personally, just from the fact that Jay was able to make that, I mean, the battle was basically in his favor, except for that, like, when he flustered a little bit in the battle versus Nox, like, I feel like he...
Yeah, I do kind of want to give it to Jay, but I'm going to call it like a 1-0. But I could easily see Nick just like turning it all around and like all of a sudden something clicks and he could win this one just 4-0 and just blow past everything. Because if Zygarde 50% gets up like a coil, or if he does like coil Dragon Dance, then there is nothing on Jay's team that's going to stop that.
Saigai versus Jack.
Ooh.
The guy.
All right, now this
Will.
So Saigai's already taken down. Like Saigai took down Will already. He's got some of these unique Pokemon in there that he is playing really well. Palossand has just been doing so much work for him.
Zeraora.
The one I'm kind
of was I thought it was a fast Pokemon, but I didn't think it was this good. It has 2 setup moves, Bulk Up or Calm Mind. You can run either or.
Yeah. The other one is Zeraora has been doing decently for him. Kyurem has been doing great. Nihilego has been putting in some work, but not an amazing amount of work. Superior has been a little lackluster. Moltres and Suicune have been doing pretty well for him, but I haven't been able to see all of his sets because he just uses like 2 or 3 Pokemon that his opponent can't break through. But I think this time around he's going to have his work cut out for him because, granted, Hax has lost a lot of games for Jack, but I think there's just he's got a lot of momentum shift, and he also has a lot of wall breakers, which we saw with his game against EAG. So, like, Jack can easily just, stop Palossand from doing something. He could stop Suicune and stop Moltres pretty easily. And then at that point, it's just kind of like, okay, who's got the better offense? So I'm interested to see how this one's going to turn out, but I think Saigai's got this one 2-0.
Yeah, Jack, nothing against you, but look at the way this season has been for you. It hasn't been the most fun. And Saigai took off the biggest contender of this conference with emphatically. Like, that was just disgusting. But
I will say Jack did play pretty well against EAG, who's one of the, like, this conference is pretty loaded as far as like teams in here. Like, Jay is not what I would consider the 18th spot. Super Shy Guy plays really well. Will was top of top of everything. EAG is great. Like, Nox's stall team needs a little bit of tweaking, but he's playing okay with it. Infinite is hit or miss some weeks, and then you've got Nick, who just needs to have something click. But there is a lot of talent in here.
Yeah.
So I don't think you can count really anyone out of these matches, but I think Jack really has his work cut out for him. The fact that he was able to go up against like a really defensive oriented team and just kind of break through shows me what his team can do, because I've been struggling to see what it could potentially do. But now is when he goes up against the more offensive team, and it should be interesting to see how his team deals with that, because like if you look at his team is like outside of Infernape, Swellow, and Alolan Persian, his team is pretty slow.
Yeah.
Like he's got Jirachi at base 100, and then everything else like
Lower.
Mega Sharpedo, but I don't see him bringing Mega Sharpedo.
I mean,
So
I mean, besides Hitmonlee, like there's nothing that should scare it away.
I mean, Hitmonlee, I'm saying like speed tier wise, Saigai has a ton of fast Pokemon to go with his team, and then he's got a lot of bulk as well. So I just don't know how it's gonna go for Saigai here, or I'm sorry for Jack. Yeah, but I'm gonna give this one a 3-0 in Saigai's favor.
Guys, okay. I'm gonna say I believe in Jack. Jack told me he's gonna make it 7-2. That's his goal. I want to believe in his goal, so I'm gonna give him the 1-0 victory here. Just because, I mean, Sharpedo is not a bad one, especially now that we took away the whole you got a Mega first turn. So he does get that speed boost in the beginning to try to like help him out.
But as soon as he Mega evolves, that thing just becomes useless.
Well, if Hitmonlee is dead, then he doesn't really have that much priority, anyways.
True, but like red card, like a Suicune with a red card, and that's a useless Sharpedo. So
we have Nox versus Super Shy Guy.
Ooh, okay. Now with this one, Nox has had this issue where he always brings some pretty solid things, but I think with Super Shy Guy, he can set up hazards, and then he has a solid Rapid Spinner in Hitmontop. So, like, I think Shy Guy really counters the crap out of this team. I think Mew can taunt, like Mew with the ability to taunt, Mega Beedrill with Poison Jab, and then Golbat also having taunt as well. That's answers to Clefable, and Clefable has been like the one thing that's been keeping Nox going this season. I don't know how Nox is going to be able to kind of overcome this, because the other thing is hazard setup. Shy Guy has a pretty solid Stealth Rock options. I wish he had something other than like Mega Beedrill to set up like Toxic Spikes, which I could actually see, because Mega Beedrill is going to cause a lot of switches on his team. And I think that would be awesome to throw Toxic Spikes on there. Oh, yeah. But it kind of forces Nox to either bring Rotom Fan, or just when the hazards go up, the hazards go up. And
does have Mega Bayonet now, so he can technically pull some shenanigans with.
I mean, as far as spin blocking goes, yes, but
no, I mean like
as far as like,
because it does have access to taunt itself.
Right, but Mega Bayonet kind of just brings in Hydreigon, and that's like that. Hydreigon can carry enough coverage to deal with this team, and Hydreigon does not need a choice scarf, or like does not need to be choice locked in any way. It could it could
Z Crystal time.
Z Crystal or Expert Belt, either of those just absolutely deal with this team. So like I don't know. I think Nox has a really bad matchup this time around. I think this is definitely in Shy Guy's favor, and I think he brings it like a 4-0.
I mean, he has 1, 2, 3, 4 wall breakers here that can deal with most of Nox's team.
Yeah, so
I don't know. I was sad because like Nox has the stall team this time. That's my game plan. I stall people out, and then he's just, I don't know. Maybe it's the team comp. I don't know. Next up, we have in the last one of the Ultra Recon Squad Conference, Infinite versus EAG.
All right, so like I said before, EAG has a very stall-oriented team. At least that's how he's been bringing it. I know he has Mamoswine in there. I know he has Salazzle. Alolan Muck, to an extent, can also be offensive, as well as like Dragalge and Machamp. But for the most part, he's been going with straight stall. But I think he's going to have to bring some more offense this time around, because Infinite has a ton of like powerful hitters that I don't think EAG's stall will be able to keep up with. Kyurem Black, especially with that Z Crystal being one of them, can absolutely just claim live. Like, I don't really see what he has to switch into Kyurem Black. Like a mixed attacking Kyurem Black just kind of deals with EAG's team. EAG's best way is to just kind of check it with Machamp and maybe like Alolan Muck or Mega Aggron as like checks. But as far as like a counter goes, every time Infinite brings that thing in, he could potentially get a kill if he predicts right. You've got Starmie on there as well. You got Virizion, Mega Manetric, Nidoking. Those all do really well against EAG. But I will say EAG uses his team very well. It's a lot of different picks that he uses very well. So I'm going to actually go with EAG on this one. I think Infinite plays a little too safe, especially early game. And if EAG can get the right set up for stall, I think he'll be able to take this.
I don't know, because you said that, you know, Alolan Muck switches into Kyurem, Machamp switches into Kyurem as checks.
No, they're checks.
As checks, that's what I'm saying. But those same mons, he has answers for them. Machamp, you have Starmie that can switch into it. For Alolan Muck, you have Nidoking and Klefki that can switch in.
Right. I'm saying that there's ways he can check Kyurem Black, but there's probably some counters that I'm not seeing here. But Kyurem Black is the biggest issue, but like I think EAG is going to find a way around that. And I think Infinite he plays far too safe early game. Like he waits until the very end to start making some plays. And last week it cost him against Shy Guy. And I think this time around it might happen again where he just like he plays it safe and EAG starts like just okay, now I've got rid of your hazards. I've got some of my hazards up. My things are working around. You're kind of in this poor position and now you're going to have to start making plays and I can predict around that. And I think EAG is going to be in that spot. That's my opinion on it at least.
And last but not least, the cross-conference match, which is between Zhu and Will.
All right, so
I'm sorry, Zhu.
Will, I think he had an off game last week. I think there were some things he just didn't properly go around, which I talk about in the power rankings. But I think this time around, he is pretty solid. I think his team matchup is probably better.
Oh, most definitely.
I think his team matchup is better. I think Zhu is going to have to leave her comfort zone about playing safe. I think she's going to have to, if she wants to have a solid chance at this, I think she needs to be just piling on offensive pressure over and over again.
I do want to say
like that's going to require some
checks for Como with Weavile and.
I mean, she has Weavile. Gudra, it could potentially take a hit depending on how it's EV'd. And then she has like Mega Blastoise can take some hit. And then as far as but I think offensively, she just has to absolutely hammer it on him.
She does also have an answer for the Tapu Koko. Jolteon is just sitting there waiting.
Right. She has some answers for it. I think if Staraptor can actually do some work too if she decides to bring it. It can provide some offensive pressure, but I think she's got to provide a lot of hyper offensive pressure and make a lot of predictions, and I just don't think she's quite there yet. So I think I'm going to give this one to Will 3-0.
Yeah.
And my prediction for EAG is EAG 2-0.
Okay. So I mean, I want to believe. I want to believe that these new kids are able to pull off these victories because it's Pokemon. Shit happens all the time. But I do agree. She needs to really hammer in don't switch in. It's not a counter. It's a check. People seem to confuse that sometimes. Never switch in a mon just because it can beat it. Always make sure that you predict around it. Make sure you switch accordingly. You have a slow U-turner right there with Mesprit. Use it to your advantage. Mesprit is not the greatest Pokemon, but in the right circumstances, it can do some things. And being a slow U-turner works because you take a hit, because it can definitely take a hit because of its bulk is decent. It can take a hit, U-turn out, and then you bring out the appropriate Pokemon. You have 2 Volt Switchers. Wait, is it 2 or 1? No, you definitely have 2. with Jolteon and Fortress. Start trying to.
He's got some U-turners as well.
Yeah, so like it's more of a trying to force the momentum. In all of Will's games, the reason why he won all those games, especially in the manner that he did, is because he was able to bring in the correct mon at the right time. That's kind of the way you have to force him to not be able to do that. You have to make your plays and put on your pressure so that he can't do what he wants to do. You gotta, with the team you have, if you are able to check him properly and you make the plays with it, you have a chance to win this. But this is still Will. Okay, this man only lost one game, and it was the Psy guy.
And he did lose against. He lost against a good player too. So I'm not like, you can't take that loss away from him. But the one thing I'll say is that Will has, like, if Will gets in a early lead, then like Jew, you're gonna have to make some kind of prediction to get around it. And I think
not only that,
I haven't seen it yet.
Do not let Weavile die at any. As long as that Como is alive, Weavile should be the mon you keep alive at all costs.
Yeah, I've seen Jew has started to make some plays here and there. It's just this time around, I just don't know, because when she played Zach, she did make a couple of decent plays, but like against Will, you're going to need to make a lot more plays, and I just don't know if that's going to happen or not. So I'm going to give this one to Will.
2-0. I'm going to say 2-0. You could say 3-0. That's fine. Maybe he could do the comeback and get a 6-0 for all I know. But yeah, definitely, like, Will definitely has. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Joey, thanks for coming.
No problem.
And that's going to be it for week 5 previews, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.